It began not with a recipe, but with a trinity: the sun, the earth, and fire. This was the food of ancient Mexico. Corn, the gold of the gods. The chili pepper, the sacred fire that could purify the soul. But when this ancient food crossed the border, it didn't just move to a new country. It met a new culture, a new mentality: the Texas cowboy. The quiet patience of the Mexican kitchen met the loud, fiery ambition of the American frontier. And from this clash of earth and iron, a new cuisine was forged. Bolder, messier, louder. It was Tex-Mex. In this film, we will show you the 25 iconic dishes that tell this story, from the sacred mole of the Aztecs to the sizzling fajitas of the Texas plains. This is the story of how an ancient tradition conquered a new frontier and built a fiery empire of flavor.
Corn tortillas. The bread, the plate, the spoon. This is not a flatbread. This is a utensil. The ancient Aztec ritual that is the foundation of everything. It begins with the miracle of nixtamalization. Corn kernels are soaked in limestone, an act that awakens their soul. Then comes the rhythmic prayer, the grinding of the softened kernels on a stone metate, a back and forth motion until a wet, fragrant dough, the masa, is born. Shaped by hand into thin discs, a sun on a plate, and thrown onto a searing hot comal. And then the magic. For a brief moment, the tortilla puffs up like a lung, taking a breath of steam. This is the sign that it is alive. This is the foundation upon which our entire story will be built.
2. Salsa roja, the fire of the gods. This is not a condiment. This is the lifeblood of the cuisine, an ancient ritual that has survived for thousands of years. Long before the Spanish arrived, the Aztecs were grinding tomatoes, chilies, and onions together on a volcanic stone molcajete. It was a tribute to the god of fire, a sauce as red as a beating heart, as hot as the midday sun. The modern version carries that same sacred fire. The ingredients are still elemental: fire-roasted tomatoes and charred chilies, their smoky skins peeled away to reveal a fiery flesh. Onions, garlic, and cilantro, all pounded together, not blended into a soulless puree. Each batch is a conversation, never exactly the same. Sometimes it's a smoky whisper, other times a sharp, brutal kick of heat. Served with everything, it is the fundamental flavor of Mexico, the first taste you remember and the last you forget.
3. Guacamole, Aztec gold. This is not a party dip. This is Aztec gold, a taste of a lost empire. The word itself is a prayer from the Nahuatl language: ahuacamole, avocado sauce. To the Aztecs, the avocado was a sacred symbol of love and fertility, a gift from the gods themselves. And they treated it as such. The ritual of guacamole is one of brutal simplicity. There is no cooking. There is only the perfect, ripe avocado, its leathery skin protecting a creamy, pale green heart. It is mashed, never blended into submission, in a stone molcajete. It is awakened by the sharp soul of lime juice, which keeps its color bright and alive. It is given a bite from raw onion, a freshness from cilantro, and a whisper of fire from chili. Every bowl of true guacamole is a connection to the past. It's more than a dip. It's a taste of history, a creamy, luxurious treasure that has survived for centuries. 4. Mole poblano, the dark, sacred heart of Mexico. This is not a sauce. This is a symphony, a dark, complex poem that takes days to write. Legend says it was invented by nuns in a convent in Puebla, frantically trying to create a dish worthy of a visiting archbishop. They threw everything they had into the pot: dozens of different chilies, nuts, seeds, spices, and their secret ingredient, bitter chocolate. The result was mole poblano, the sacred heart of Mexico. It is a laborious act of faith. The chilies must be toasted and soaked. The seeds must be fried. Everything is ground into a paste on a stone metate, a process that can take a full day. The final sauce is a paradox. It is dark as night, but not overpowering. Spicy, but not just hot. Sweet, but not a dessert. It is every flavor at once. To taste a true mole is to taste the soul of Mexico itself. It's a flavor so deep and complex, it feels like history on your tongue.
5. Tamales, a gift from the gods, wrapped in a leaf. Long before the taco, long before the burrito, there was the tamale. This is one of the oldest foods of the Americas, a tradition stretching back thousands of years to the Aztec and Mayan empires. It was not everyday food. It was sacred, a food for rituals, for offerings, for feeding armies on the march. The process is a labor of love, a task for the whole family. It starts with masa, the same corn dough used for tortillas, but enriched with lard to make it fluffy. A spoonful of this masa is spread onto a softened corn husk. A filling is added, perhaps spiced shredded pork or chicken. Then comes the artful fold. The husk is wrapped around the filling, a tiny, precious package, and tied shut. The tamales are then steamed, not baked or fried, standing upright in a massive pot. The corn husk acts as a natural vessel, protecting the masa and infusing it with a subtle, sweet corn flavor. To unwrap a hot tamale is to open a gift from the past. It's a soft, steamy, fragrant pillow of corn, a direct link to the ancient gods of Mesoamerica.
6. Tacos al pastor, the secret immigrants. This is not a Mexican taco. This is a Lebanese shawarma disguised in a corn tortilla. The story begins in the 1930s when Lebanese immigrants arrived in Mexico, bringing with them their iconic vertical rotisserie for roasting lamb shawarma. But in Mexico, pork was king, not lamb. The Mexican people adopted the method but changed the meat. They marinated thin slices of pork not in Middle Eastern spices, but in a fiery red paste of guajillo chilies and achiote. They stacked the pork onto the vertical spit, the trompo, and crowned it with a whole pineapple. As the trompo turns, the outside of the pork caramelizes. The taquero, taco maker, masterfully shaves off thin, crispy slices directly into a small corn tortilla. With a flick of his wrist, he slices off a piece of the roasted pineapple from the top. Served with just a sprinkle of onion and cilantro, it's a perfect fusion of two worlds. A taste of Beirut in the heart of Mexico City.
7. Carne asada, the soul of the backyard fiesta. This is more than just grilled meat. This is the soul of the backyard fiesta, the reason for the gathering. Carne asada isn't a specific cut of meat, it's a ritual. It's the sound of beer bottles opening, the laughter of family, and the smell of charcoal and sizzling beef. The process is one of simple perfection. A thin, tough cut of beef, like flank or skirt steak, is bathed for hours in a marinade of lime juice, garlic, and Mexican spices. This isn't just for flavor. The acid tenderizes the meat, breaking it down, preparing it for the fire. It's cooked hot and fast over a charcoal grill, kissed by smoke and flame, until it has a perfect char on the outside while staying juicy within. It's never served whole. It's chopped roughly on a wooden board, its juices running free and piled high into warm corn tortillas. This is not restaurant food. This is community. This is Sunday. This is carne asada.
8. Refried beans, the humble glue of the Mexican plate. The name is a lie. They are not refried.
The Spanish refritos actually means well-fried, and they are the humble, creamy, delicious glue that holds the entire meal together. The process begins with a simple pot of pinto beans, simmered for hours with onion and garlic until they are soft and tender. The magic comes from the fat. A generous scoop of lard is melted in a pan until it's shimmering hot. The beans are added, and the mashing begins. They are mashed and fried until they transform from individual beans into a smooth, savory, incredibly rich paste. They are never an afterthought. They are the perfect, comforting partner to every dish, smeared inside a burrito, sitting next to rice, or as a dip for a lonely tortilla chip. They are the quiet hero of the Mexican plate.
9. Chiles rellenos, a taste of a forbidden love. The legend of this dish is more beautiful than the dish itself. It is said they were invented by nuns in Puebla to celebrate Mexico's independence, a dish to honor a returning general. They created a masterpiece that wore the colors of the Mexican flag, the green of the poblano chile, the white of the cheese, and the red of the tomato sauce. But for the immigrant who crossed the border, this dish was a luxury, a memory of home that took immense effort to recreate. It wasn't food for a Tuesday night. It was food for a wedding, for a daughter's baptism. The poblano chile, a gentle giant among peppers, had to be carefully roasted over an open flame until its tough skin blistered and could be peeled away, leaving a smoky, fragile heart. It was then stuffed with cheese, a treasure hidden inside, dipped in a light, airy egg batter that puffed up like a cloud in hot oil. Finally, it was bathed in a simple tomato sauce. To eat a chile relleno was to eat a flag, a love letter, a memory of a victory long past. It was a taste of pride.
10. Fajitas, the sizzling soundtrack of Tex-Mex. This is not a dish, it is a performance. Fajitas were born on the dusty ranches of West Texas, the food of the vaqueros, Mexican cowboys. They were given the toughest, cheapest cut of beef, the skirt steak, or faja in Spanish. The cowboys, masters of fire and meat, learned to marinate the tough cut in lime and spices to make it tender, then cook it hot and fast over a mesquite campfire. But the dish became a superstar in the 1980s thanks to a piece of pure theater, the sizzling platter. The grilled meat, along with onions and peppers, was served on a cast iron skillet so hot that it arrived at the table still screaming, enveloped in a cloud of aromatic steam. Heads turn. Everyone in the restaurant stops to see what's coming. The sound, the smell, the drama, it was a spectacle you could eat. Served with warm floured tortillas, guacamole, and salsa, fajitas are not just dinner, they are the show.
11. Nachos, the happy accident. This is not an ancient Aztec creation. This is a happy accident, a stroke of genius born from an empty kitchen. The year was 1943 in the border town of Piedras Negras, Mexico. The Victory Club restaurant was closed for the night when a group of American military wives arrived looking for a snack. The chef, Ignacio Anaya, nicknamed Nacho, had nothing prepared. Thinking fast, he took what he had, tostadas, fried corn tortilla triangles. He scattered a blanket of shredded cheese over them, topped them with slices of pickled jalapenos, and heated them just long enough for the cheese to melt into a glorious, gooey mess. He presented the creation to the women, calling it Nachos Especiales, Nachos Special. It was a simple masterpiece, a perfect balance of crunch, salt, cream, and spice. From that one desperate, brilliant act of improvisation, the world's most famous appetizer was born.
12. Chili con carne, The heart of Texas, a bowl of red. This is not a Mexican dish. This is a Texan Declaration of Independence. True Texas chili is a religion, and its primary commandment is simple: no beans. Its origins are murky, a legend of the Texas frontier. Some say it was trail food for cowboys, a brick of dried beef, fat, and chilies that could be rehydrated over a campfire. Others tell the story of the chili queens of San Antonio, women who served bowls of this red fire from bubbling cauldrons in the military plaza. Whatever its birth, the soul of chili is the chili pepper itself. It's a slow, simmered stew of tough beef, rendered beef fat, and a symphony of dried, reconstituted chilies: ancho for depth, guajillo for fruitiness, and the fiery piquin for a sharp kick. There are no tomatoes to dilute the flavor. There is only the deep, dark, complex, and intensely meaty flavor of the chili peppers and the beef, married together for hours over a low flame. It's more than a stew. It's a bowl of red. It's the official dish of Texas. It's a statement.
13. Queso dip, the molten heart of Tex-Mex. This is the dish that Mexico never asked for, but Texas couldn't live without. Chile con queso, or simply queso, is a purely Tex-Mex creation, a glorious bowl of molten, processed cheese that is both beloved and berated. Its soul is not a fine Mexican queso fresco. Its soul is a brick of bright orange, pasteurized, processed cheese, like Velveeta, a product of modern American food science, praised for one thing: it melts without splitting. The ritual is simple and forgiving. The brick of cheese is melted down in a pot with canned tomatoes, chilies, and spices until it becomes a smooth, unnaturally creamy, ridiculously addictive dip. It defies all notions of authentic cuisine. It is served with a giant bowl of salty tortilla chips, and it is the undeniable centerpiece of every Tex-Mex party. It's not elegant, it's not traditional, but its gooey, salty, spicy flavor is the molten heart of Tex-Mex.
14. Hard-shell tacos, an American invention. The sound of Mexico for most of the world is not a mariachi band. It is the loud, satisfying crunch of a hard-shell taco. And it is a sound that was invented in America. The soft corn tortilla was too fragile, too authentic for the fast-paced American supermarket. In 1951, Glenn Bell, the future founder of Taco Bell, had an idea. He watched the Mexican restaurants across the street and designed a machine that could pre-fry corn tortillas into a perfect, uniform, U-shaped shell. A shell that could be mass-produced, packaged, and shipped across the country. It was a brilliant, if inauthentic, innovation. The shell provided a crunchy container that was easy for non-Mexicans to eat. It was filled not with traditional carne asada, but with a familiar, comforting ground beef, seasoned with a mild taco seasoning packet. Topped with shredded iceberg lettuce, yellow cheese, and diced tomatoes, it was the perfect suburban translation of a Mexican classic. It may not be authentic, but its crunch is the sound of a culinary empire. 15. Enchiladas, the story of a second chance. To be enchiladed literally means to be decorated or covered in chili sauce. This is the story of a second chance, a dish born from the genius of Mexican home cooks who refuse to waste a single stale tortilla. The process is a resurrection. The day-old tortilla, too hard to fold, is given a quick baptism in hot oil or sauce, bringing it back to life, making it soft and pliable again. A humble filling, shredded chicken, cheese, or onions is placed in the center, and the tortilla is rolled into a tight flute. The flutes are arranged side by side in a baking dish, like sleeping soldiers. Then comes the flood. A river of red or green chili sauce is poured over them. They're not just covered, they are drowned. A heavy blanket of cheese is added on top, a final act of abundance. In the heat of the oven, a miracle happens. The individual tortillas surrender their identity, melting into the sauce and cheese. They are no longer separate, but become a single, bubbling, glorious casserole. It's a perfect story of transformation. What was once old and broken is now new, soft, and celebrated.
16. Burrito, the little donkey. This is not just food, it is transportation. The name burrito means little donkey, and the legend fits. During the Mexican Revolution, a man named Juan Mendez sold food from a donkey cart. To keep it warm, he wrapped it in giant flour tortillas. It was a brilliant solution. The flour tortilla, unlike its smaller corn cousin, is stretchy, durable, and huge. It can carry a heavy load. The American version took this idea and ran with it. It became a torpedo of flavor, packed tightly with rice, beans, meat, cheese, salsa, and guacamole. The art is in the roll, tucking the ends, folding the sides, and rolling it tight so not a single drop of precious filling escapes. It is a complete meal you can hold in one hand, a portable feast that conquered the world.
17. Chimichanga, the delicious mistake. The story of the chimichanga is the story of a clumsy chef and a happy accident. Legend says that in the 1950s at a restaurant in Tucson, Arizona, a cook accidentally dropped a fully prepared burrito into a deep fryer full of hot, bubbling oil. As it sizzled and spit, she began to yell a Spanish curse word, chi. But because there were children in the kitchen, she stopped herself and instead yelled a nonsense word, chimichanga. What came out of the fryer was a miracle. The flour tortilla had transformed into a deep-fried, golden brown, incredibly crispy and bubbly crust. The fillings inside became molten hot and even more delicious. It was a burrito, but better, crispier, more decadent. Served on a plate and smothered in melted cheese, guacamole, and sour cream, the chimichanga is the ultimate proof that sometimes the best discoveries are the ones you never meant to make. 18. Taco salad, the illusion of health. This is a masterpiece of American irony. In the 1970s, as health consciousness began to rise, a demand grew for a lighter Mexican option. The solution was the taco salad. The name itself is a contradiction. It begins with the bowl. A giant flour tortilla is pressed into a special basket and deep-fried until it becomes a massive, edible, crispy shell. This healthy bowl alone can have more calories than a hamburger. Inside, a bed of shredded iceberg lettuce is topped with the familiar Americanized taco meat, a mountain of shredded yellow cheese, tomatoes, sour cream, and sometimes guacamole. It has all the elements of a taco, but rearranged to look like a salad. It is eaten with a fork, the illusion of civility, until the very end, when you're encouraged to shatter the greasy fried bowl and eat the pieces like giant chips. It is the perfect monument to American dieting, a salad that is anything but. 19. Quesadilla, the folded question. The name is a question. Queso, cheese, plus tortilla, a quesadilla. It's the simplest pleasure in the Mexican food universe, a dish so fundamental it's almost primal. It is a single tortilla, flour in the north of Mexico and in America, corn in the south, folded around a heart of melted cheese. That's it. It's a warm, gooey half-moon of comfort. But this simple canvas can become a work of art. Stuffed with shredded chicken, spicy chorizo, or earthy mushrooms, it is grilled on a hot comal until the tortilla is toasted and crispy in spots, and the cheese inside becomes a molten river. Served simply, cut into wedges to be shared, it's the perfect food. It can be a snack, a quick lunch, or the star of a meal. It is the humble, delicious, and endlessly versatile soul of the Mexican kitchen.
20. Margarita, the devil in a salty glass. The stories of its birth are as hazy as the morning after a good fiesta. Was it invented in the 1930s for a showgirl who was allergic to all spirits except tequila, or named after a beautiful socialite in Acapulco? The truth is a mystery, and that's part of the magic. The margarita is a perfect trinity, a beautiful, dangerous balance. The fiery, earthy spirit of tequila, made from the blue agave plant, the sweet, fragrant kiss of orange liqueur, and the sharp, sour, electric jolt of fresh lime juice. Served in its iconic wide-mouthed glass, the rim is crusted with coarse salt, a crucial element. The salt prepares your palate, cutting the sweetness and amplifying the flavors. One sip is a journey. First the salt, then the sweet, then the sour, and finally the warm, lingering fire of the tequila. It is the official drink of having a good time, the liquid soul of the fiesta.
21. Horchata, the milky soul of Mexico. This is not a milkshake. This is an ancient, cool, and creamy balm, the perfect counterpoint to the fire of Chile. Horchata is the milky soul of Mexico, a drink that has roots stretching back to ancient Egypt, traveling through Spain, and finally finding its true home in Mexico. But the Mexican version is unique. It begins not with nuts or seeds, but with a humble grain of rice. The rice is soaked in water overnight, absorbing the moisture, softening, and releasing its starchy heart. It's then blended with cinnamon until it becomes a sweet, milky liquid. Strained through a cheesecloth to remove all the grit, what remains is a surprisingly creamy, sweet, and refreshing drink, served ice cold. It has the comfort of milk, the warmth of cinnamon, and the soul of rice. It is the perfect truce, a sweet, milky flag of surrender after the delicious battle with a spicy salsa.
22. Sopapillas, the puffy pillows of the Southwest. The name comes from the Spanish word sopaipa, meaning bread soaked in oil, and that is exactly what they are. This is a simple, humble dessert, born in the kitchens of New Mexico over 200 years ago. It begins with a simple dough, not unlike tortilla dough, but leavened to make it rise. The dough is rolled thin and cut into squares or triangles. The magic happens in the deep fryer. When the dough hits the hot oil, it inflates dramatically, puffing up like a little pillow, hollow on the inside. They're served piping hot, a basket of golden, puffy clouds. Tradition demands you tear off a corner and drizzle golden honey directly inside the hollow, steamy interior. The first bite is a perfect contrast, the crispy, slightly salty fried dough outside and the warm, sweet river of honey pooled inside. It's simple, it's comforting, and it's the quintessential sweet taste of the American Southwest.
23. Flan, the silky, shaking queen. This dessert is ancient, a direct descendant of a dish from the Roman Empire. The Romans were the first to domesticate chickens for eggs, and they had a surplus. They created a simple custard of eggs, milk, and honey. The Spanish inherited the recipe and brought it to Mexico, where it became a national treasure. Flan is a beautiful paradox. The process begins with a bitter, almost burnt caramel poured into the bottom of a mold.
This harshness is then covered by a delicate sweet custard made from eggs, milk, and vanilla. It is baked gently in a water bath, a baño Maria, so it cooks evenly without curdling. But the magic, the moment of theater, is the unmolding. The mold is flipped upside down onto a plate. For a 10-second, nothing happens. Then, with a soft sloop, the flan releases, revealing a perfect, shimmering custard, now bathed in the very caramel that was once its bitter foundation. It quivers on the plate, a silky, elegant queen, ready to be served.
24. Tres leches cake, the sponge of the gods. The exact origin is a delicious mystery, with Nicaragua, Mexico, and other Latin American countries all claiming it as their own. But its popularity exploded in America, a testament to a love for all things rich and decadent. The name means 3 milks, and it is a promise. It begins with a simple, light, airy sponge cake baked with thousands of tiny air pockets. This cake is the sponge. After it cools, it is pierced all over with a fork, creating hundreds of tiny channels. Then comes the holy trinity of milk, a rich, creamy blend of evaporated milk, condensed milk, and heavy cream. This milky river is poured slowly over the cake. The sponge, thirsty and waiting, drinks it all. It soaks up every last drop, becoming impossibly moist and heavy, a miracle of absorption. It's not a soggy cake, it's a cake that has transcended dryness. Topped with a simple whipped cream and a single cherry, it's a sweet, milky, heavenly bite that melts in your mouth. 25. Churros, the shepherd's staff. Our journey ends with a sweet, ridged stick of fried dough, the churro. Its story is as rugged as the mountains of Spain. It's said they were invented by Spanish shepherds who lived high in the hills, far from any bakery. They needed a simple dough they could cook in a pan over an open fire. They created a simple dough, piped it through a star-shaped nozzle, giving it its signature ridges, and fried it in oil. The name churro comes from the churra sheep, whose horns the pastry resembles. Brought to Mexico, the churro was perfected. It was served fresh from street carts, rolled in a blizzard of cinnamon sugar, and served with a side of thick, dark, melted chocolate for dipping. It is the perfect final act, a crispy, sweet, ridged staff that has walked a long journey from the mountains of Spain to the streets of the Americas. It is simple, it is joyful, and it is a delicious end to our story.